She stood on my driveway waving a stack of papers like she had just won a war. "You can't live here anymore," she snapped, her voice echoing through the quiet street. I looked at her, then at the fake HOA letter she had slapped on my door earlier that morning. My house wasn't even part of her HOA, but Karen didn't care. She stepped closer, pointing at my truck. "That's getting towed in 10 minutes. You're in violation of our rules." I could feel my hands tighten around my coffee mug. The smell of burnt toast from my kitchen still lingered, and here she was, trying to burn my morning even more. "Karen," I said slowly, "this isn't your neighborhood." She smirked, tapped her phone, and whispered loudly enough for me to hear, "Dispatch, send the officers. He's trespassing on his own land." A couple of neighbors peeked out from behind their blinds. Karen noticed, straightened her shoulders, and began telling them I was some kind of squatter. She even pulled out a badge, shiny but clearly from some costume shop, and claimed she had authority to remove me. My pulse started to rise, but not because I was scared. I just smiled because I knew something she didn't, something that would end her little game in less than 3 minutes. The rumble of an old tow truck echoed from the end of the street. Karen's grin widened like she had just summoned backup from some evil headquarters. "Perfect timing," she said, waving her arms. The driver hopped out, looking confused, but Karen shoved the fake notice in his face. "Tow it! HOA orders!" she barked. I stayed quiet, leaning against my porch railing, sipping the last of my coffee. My heart wasn't racing. If anything, I was almost amused. The tow driver hesitated. "Ma'am, this address, it's not even on the HOA list." Karen's eyes darted toward me, then back to him. "It's a new rule. I'm personally enforcing it." She didn't notice the real patrol car creeping around the corner. The tow truck driver shrugged and hooked his chains to my front wheels. That's when Karen made her mistake. She pulled out her phone again and started live streaming. "This squatter thinks he owns this land," she told her viewers, "but I'm making sure justice is served." I set my mug down, took a slow step forward, and said in a calm voice, "Karen, do you really want to keep recording? Because in about 2 minutes, you're going to wish this video never existed." Her eyebrows knitted. "Is that a threat?" she snapped. I smiled. "No, that's a promise." The patrol car stopped right in front of my driveway, and Karen lit up like it was her personal cavalry. She waved her arms and shouted, "Officer, arrest this man for trespassing. He's living here illegally." The officer stepped out, tall, calm, and clearly not in a hurry. "Ma'am," he said, "this address isn't part of your HOA. You can't enforce anything here." Karen crossed, her arms scoffing. "Oh, I can. I'm the HOA president and I have legal authority." She pulled out that fake badge again like it was her golden ticket. That's when I pulled something out of my back pocket, a laminated ID with a gold emblem. The officer glanced at it, then at me, and smirked. Karen frowned. "What is that supposed to be?" I stepped closer so she could see it clearly. "That," I said, "is my county sheriff's department ID. I'm not just the homeowner, Karen. I'm the one who trains the officers you just tried to call on me." Her face drained of color. The neighbor's blinds were opening wider now, and the tow truck driver quietly unhooked my truck without saying a word. Karen took one small step back, but it was too late. The real game had just started. Karen's lips trembled, but she forced a laugh, trying to keep her authority act alive. "Nice prop," she said, pointing at my badge. "You think that scares me? You're still breaking our rules." I tilted my head. "Your rules don't apply here." Her eyes narrowed, and before I could say more, she spun toward the officer. "Fine. If you won't arrest him, I'll file a formal complaint with the county. And while I do, that truck is leaving." She snapped her fingers at the tow driver again. The officer stepped forward, but Karen shoved him aside and climbed into the tow truck herself, yanking at the lever. The metal chain clanged against my wheel, scratching the paint. That's when my stomach tightened, not because of the truck, but because she reached into the cab of the tow truck and grabbed my 10-year-old son's baseball gear bag. "Maybe this will get your attention," she said, holding it up. "You'll get this back when you move out." The neighbors gasped. I didn't say a word. I just reached into my pocket again. Not for my phone, but for something better. A small black remote with a blinking red light. Karen's eyes flicked to it. "What's that?" I smiled. "It's the reason you're about to regret everything you've done in the last 10 minutes. Karen froze, the baseball bag still in her hand. "You're bluffing," she said, forcing a smirk. I pressed the remote. Across the street, my garage door began to open slowly, revealing a wall of monitors glowing in the dim light. Every screen played crisp, high-definition footage from 3 different angles, showing Karen trespassing on my property, slapping the fake HOA notice on my door, and flashing that cheap badge at the tow driver. The officer's jaw tightened. "Ma'am, is that you?" Karen stammered. That's edited. He's lying." But her voice cracked. The tow truck driver stepped back. "Lady, you told me you were law enforcement. I'm not going to jail for this." He turned to me. "I'm sorry, man. I had no idea." I kept my eyes on Karen. This footage is also streaming live to my attorney, the county records office, and about 30,000 people on my neighborhood watch app. Karen's face drained completely. She glanced around, realizing almost every neighbor was now outside, some filming her on their phones. Her hand slowly dropped the baseball bag to the ground. The officer took a step toward her. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for trespassing, theft, and impersonating an officer." Karen's mouth opened, but no words came out. The only sound was the click of the cuffs. Her wrists locked, but she still tried to twist her head toward the neighbors. "This is a mistake. He's lying. The HOA will back me up." The officer didn't even look at her. "You're not in charge of this street, ma'am. And according to county records, you've been trying to enforce HOA rules outside your jurisdiction for months." I picked up my son's baseball bag from the ground, dusting it off as I walked toward her. "Karen, you should have done your homework," I said. "This property was exempt from your HOA before you even moved here. I own the deed outright and the land around it." She blinked, confused. That's impossible." I pulled a folded paper from my back pocket and held it just out of her reach. "County exemption certificate," I said. "Signed and sealed, which means your little eviction stunt just crossed into harassment and fraud." The officer took the document, skimmed it, and handed it back. "Looks airtight." Karen's voice cracked into a high-pitched plea. I didn't know." I leaned closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. "That's the problem, Karen. You never know, because you never think you're wrong." The officer guided her toward the patrol car. My neighbors stood in a loose crowd, whispering and smiling like they'd just watched the season finale of their favorite show. But I wasn't done yet.